Hello there and welcome to this Python tutorial video in which we're going to take the Pygame documentation, which is saved as a PDF file, and see how we can rotate a page of it but also the entire file. Now, if your question is, but I have another PDF file, would this code also work? The answer is absolutely yes. It doesn't matter as long as it's a PDF file. So, I'll try to structure the code in a few different small sections so it's easy to follow and easy for me to also explain. But if you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section below. So let's get started. The first part would be specifying my target file. In this case, it would be pygame.pdf. And also ultimately, I would like to have this exported into some output file. Let's save it as pygame rotated.pdf. Now, if you want to have this code working for a lot of files, you might want to somehow link this to the target file. So maybe you can use slicing. First, take these 4 characters out, add underscore rotated, and then add these 4 characters at the end. So just mentioning that's also an option and probably the best approach if you want to do it for a lot of files. Now, in order to get there, we would need some library to import, and in this case, it would be PyPDF2. So from PyPDF2, we're going to import PDF file reader and PDF file writer. And this is self-explanatory. One would help us to read the file, our target file. One would help us to export our output file. Now, this file at the moment doesn't exist. And one way that I think it's quite good is if you first create this file in order to WB or write bytes, and then once we are done, output file, we're going to close it. So this is really a nice way that you can see what's happening at each stage. Now, what happens in between? Well, that's the part that we're going to cover next. So our PDF file would be equal to PDF file reader, and we're going to read our target file. Now, this PDF refers to the file, and we can take a look into the pages, rotate them as we want. But as we need to write it at the end, we need to create this writer, which actually takes the PDF file writer class, but not specify anything. Now, this might seem strange. Why did we specify the target file here? Why not in this part? You can think of this writer as not as a file, but as an empty PDF at this stage. So it's a completely empty blank PDF file to which we're going to add the pages that we want. Now, where do we find the pages? Well, we start with a simple page. Page is equal to pdf.getPage, and in brackets we can specify the number of pages. So 0 would be the cover, 1 would be the page afterwards, and so on. So let's start with rotating one single page, and then let's see how we can rotate the entire file. So we have our page, then page.rotate clockwise, and in the brackets what we need to specify is the number of degrees. Counter clockwise is also possible, so I'll here just as a comment, but I don't think it's necessary that you remember both. If you know one, that's already sufficient. But if for some reason you really want to use counterclockwise, that is also possible. Now, once we have the page rotated, well, we need to take this writer, which is an empty PDF file, and just add page. Which page? Well, the one that we've just rotated. Now, at this moment, what we have is we have one single page, which is the cover page. Before we close our file, we need to export this into our output file. So writer.write output file, and this is actually everything that you need to rotate one single page. So take the file, which is the target file, make sure that you have the correct output file there, read, write, rotate. That's pretty much it. So it's easy to follow. You can see what happens in each step, and let's take a look into this. If we want it, you see it goes quite fast, and also it's just one page. So this is our original file, which has of course the cover page properly facing the correct way, and this is our rotated file, so that works fine. Now, if you want to rotate the entire file, all the pages within the file, you need to repeat kind of this part for all the pages. And if you don't know how many pages there are, well, that's our first step. So number of pages would be equal to PDF dot get num pages. That's it. So at this moment you have, in our case, it would be, I think it was 98 pages. Yeah, so we have 98 pages, and that would be our the output of this get num pages. So this num page would be equal to 98, and we can print that out if we want to double check. And what we need to do next is for I in range num pages. First, we need to get the page. The page that we would get would be page I. Then the same page we need to rotate, and then at the end we need to add it to our empty PDF file. But of course, after our first iteration, it would no longer be empty. It would have one page, then it would have two, and so on. Once that is done, we would export it out to our output file and make sure that it is closed. Now, this would take a bit more time, but as you can see, also not that much, as it's it works quite fast. So this would be our Pygame rotated that has also 98 pages, and as you can see, everything is now being rotated. So that would be all regarding this video, and I think this is the third one in the series. Probably the next one would be related to how to encrypt and decrypt PDF files. So thank you for following, and I'll see you in the next one.